Hey, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for a tag video. So this is the Reluctant TBR Tag. I will send either the link of the creator of the tag or one of the videos that I watched of this tag to get the questions. So here it goes. Question number 1. It was a soft DNF. So for me, a soft DNF is basically a book that, I've set aside and I'm, kind of waffling if I want to continue it or not. And like maybe I will, maybe I won't. But the one I picked for my soft DNF was Ulysses by James Joyce. This is a classic, and it is a loose retelling of the Odyssey. And I remember really enjoying the Odyssey. I thought it was very funny and a very fun, entertaining story. And I've always heard about this one, and just the premise sounded really engaging and interesting. But the problem is James Joyce gets really creative with the writing style, and it's very intimidating, and I keep trying. I've tried once before to read it, and I kind of gave up because I just was not being able to understand what was going on, feeling very confused, and just bewildered about what's happening in the story, what the characters are talking about, what the characters are doing. So I was going to give up, but then one of you guys talked about how much you love this book and encouraged me to give it another shot. I do realize this is not a good book to read while I'm in the car because there are too many distractions. There's the radio. My parents or whoever I'm in the car with are talking. With music, listening to music, it's a little bit easier. But my parents like listening to talk radio, so that makes it a little harder for me to concentrate. And sometimes even with music, it can distract me, especially if I really enjoy the song. But unfortunately, because I don't drive, I have to go by their rules. Whatever they want to listen to. I mean, sometimes, my mom will let me listen to, like, the Broadway station on Sirius Radio or, pop hits or something. But yeah, this just feels like such an interesting book, an interesting story, a premise, and she did, I was told to also recommend, like, looking up the author and stuff like that, before you read a book like this. So I might look up more about James Joyce. And I do have his other, A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man. I have that, so I had thought about starting that. That might be a little bit easier. So again, I might come back to this one. Also, I really like the cover. I think it's really cool. Okay, so question number 2 is, you've read another book by that author and didn't enjoy it. And that is William Faulkner's A Light in August. And I borrowed from the library a collection of his, some of his novellas, and this one might have been in there. And I attempted to read the first one, which is As I Lay Dying, and I just could not get into the story. I was not engaged with it. I was not excited to read it, and but I was, I saw this during a sale at Gibbons. They were having a Oktoberfest was going on in my community, and the bookstore had their own little sale, and they had books for like $1 or $1 to $2. And I decided to try it because he is a classic author, a classic Southern author. And it did sound like a really interesting purpose with very compelling characters, and it's just that's the thing. Like, I mean, granted, the back descriptions can make something sound really interesting, and then it turns out to be really boring. But like you said, I only spent like $1 on this, so it's not a total waste of money if I end up not loving it. But yeah, I want to try it. There's so many classic authors that I want to try that I think might be worth my time. So that is that one. Okay, so question number 3 is a brand new. It's it's brand new and you don't know when you'll get around to it. So I didn't know if they... At first I was wondering if the creator of the tag meant, you know, a new release. But then later on down the line they do ask for, you know... There is a question to ask. That says it hasn't come out yet. So I think this could, you know, be a book that's new, as in I just recently purchased it. Okay, so I technically picked out two for this one. One is one that actually it's not that new, as in I got it like back in September I got it from England when we were in London, and that is Tad Williams' The Dragonbone Chair, the first book in the Memory, Sword, and Thorn book one, you know, and I always wanted to get a UK cover. UK covers, like, I love their covers. So, and I decided to go ahead because fantasy is I'm most likely going to enjoy a fantasy. So, I grabbed that one. Although, I gotta admit, not that I would tell my mom this. But I kind of wish that I had listened to her and got just one book. But the problem is I couldn't decide. And, you know, and I had thought, you know, and you know, the only reason I regret is because we went to Bath and there was a really cool bookstore there that I wanted to go into. But no, of course, we also didn't have a lot of time in Bath anyway, so I didn't get to spend as much time as I would like to. So maybe one day we'll go back and I'll get to go to Bath and Oxford. But actually, funnily enough, Caroline Marie Reeds, who just is currently living in England with her new husband, they actually went to that bookstore that in Bath. So that it was really cool to see that bookstore and see what it was like inside, because we did kind of go in there to ask them a question about because we were hoping we would have time to go to Jane Austen's, like, to her grave or her museum or whatever, but it would, you know, we would have to, it was far away, I think. But we went in there to ask about that. So I did go inside and see a little bit of it, but I didn't really get to explore the shop. So maybe next time. So yeah, it's not that new. It's not that brand new for me, but it's like it's like 2 months old. But I went ahead and decided to pick it anyway, just to put it on there. But the more newer one, the more recent, is Thomas Pynchon's V, and this is not the only Thomas Pynchon that I have here. But yeah, again, another story that the premise sounded interesting, but the author feels very intimidating to me. Very, the writing, you know, I'm worried about the writing style, that I'll be able to get into it, and he's another one of those authors that's like, people either love him or hate him. And it just sounded like a really cool plot, so I would like to get to it. And, you know, whenever I buy new books, all of a sudden I want to read them right there. But I have books that I've had for a while that I need to get to first. So yeah, these are the two books. So Dragonbone Chair and V are the two that brand new that I don't know when I'll get to them. Okay, so next is The Cover is Painfully Ugly. Oh wait, no, it's, yeah. Okay, yep, that is the next one. The Cover is Painfully Ugly, and I don't have an answer for this one. I had a hard time with this one. I mean, I'm sure there's a book on there somewhere on my shelves that has a really ugly cover, and I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm not all shallow and don't notice covers, because I do notice covers. But I generally don't really, but truthfully, I just don't care as much. And, you know, I didn't feel like going through and searching to find if any of these covers I thought were kind of ugly. So, it's also laziness, too. So I don't have an answer for that one. But if you are interested in doing this tag, that's number 4, a cover that's painfully ugly. Okay. Number 5. It's a classic book that might be good for you, but you're not that interested. And I picked one that I don't have anymore, so I can't show it to you guys, but I had borrowed it from my sister originally, and that is Native Son by Richard Wright. And I tried it, and I just could not get into the story, and I just was not. I was like, and then I was getting frustrated because, like, sometimes I will ask people what they think, and I was leaning towards returning to my sister. But both, my family was like, but you might want to read it later. You should keep it and don't feel obligated to return. You can return it whenever. And I'm like, because that's the other thing. It was my sister's book. And I don't want to be holding it forever if I don't feel inspired to read it. I want to eventually give it back to her. And even if she doesn't care, doesn't notice, because, like, she saves her books. She's not really much of a reader. But she has a small collection of books, and that she read in school and stuff like that, and she saves them in case, like, the boys want to, maybe for the boys when they get to that age level where you start reading certain books for school. And, I was, thinking, okay, I want to return it to her at some point, and feeling pressure and, like, feeling anxious and stuff like that. And, yeah, she said, oh, don't worry about it. But that made me more frustrated, because I'm like, but I don't feel a desire to read it. And I kept trying to explain, and not to her, but to my dad, which I love and respect my dad, but in this case, I knew that I was probably not going to get around to. If there's a sense of pressure, because it's a book I have to eventually return to someone, then I'm going to be even less inclined to read it. I know that might not make sense to other people, but for me, if I'm being kind of persuaded to read something, or being forced to read something, and I mean lightly forced, like, obviously not like, you have to read this book. Not like that, but just the fact that I know it's not my book. And I want to be, and, I wasn't, like I said, I was not feeling inspired to read it. I know, yes, it is an important book about important experience, important issues that, but I just it didn't feel like my kind of book. So I did return it. I mean, I feel like there's still a little bit, like, I still feel like I have to justify myself about it, but yeah, so Native Son is my answer for that one. Okay, so next is It's Humongous and Intimidating. This is number 6. And I kind of have 2 books for this one. First, Books of Jacob by Olga Tokarczuk. Sorry, I'm not gonna try. I'm about to feel bad for butchering that, and this is a Nobel Prize winner, as you can see, and it's, and it's very much, I mean, I've read a little bit of it, and it does feel like a good story about the Jewish experience, especially in Poland, and how, like, it talks about something that it's about like events in history that I am interested and want to learn more about. But it's a big boy. It's a big book, and it's a very hard topic. What's the question again? Sorry, I gotta look at it. It's humongous into me. So yeah, and I just, yeah, as you can see, it's really huge. I can't even, because it's the way it's published, which is kind of cool. It's published kind of like how I think the Torah is, how that is numbered as far as pages go, where it's backwards. But yeah, it's intimidating book because, like I said, it's huge and it's a very important, a very hard, tragic subject matter. So then the other one I picked that I decided to include in that was The Recognitions by William Gaddis, which is another book that probably could have been the answer for the first question, because I did put it down. It was actually Leaf by Leaf that got Chris from Leaf by Leaf who got this book on my radar, along with I'm trying to think of, there's Pynchon also was another author that he got on my radar. And it sounds like such a good story, but again, long, and also the writing style is intimidating, which that one, again, this is another one that can be applied to another one of these questions, but I'm using a different book, but the reasons are very similar to the other question, my answers. But yeah, this is huge, and I'm so worried that I won't be able to follow and would get confused, but I want to try this. I want to keep going because the story sounds really, really good. So next is, you feel like you need to read it because it's hyped, but you are not excited. I had trouble with this one too. I don't really have an answer, honestly. I mean, there are some, like, right now I'm kind of intrigued by Emily Henry, who's a very hyped romance author. And I wouldn't say I'm not excited, but it's not my go-to type of story. When it comes to romance and love stories, I would rather just watch a rom-com or a romantic drama. Well, actually, I want to be a better answer for this one is, I don't have them, but the Bridgerton series, because for a second I did think about them. I did think about reading them. And that one I'm the least excited. Like, I'm actually kind of intrigued by Emily Henry. Not excited necessarily, but like, I'm kind of like, her premises sound really fun and cute. And then one of them particularly drew my attention, which is Book Lovers. But in a way, they all kind of have a literary plot point in all of her books, at least so far. Well, actually, no. Maybe like the first few of them, like Beach Read, Book Lovers. That's the one I'm kind of intrigued by. And then there's that one more. So it's more than a couple. It's actually 3 books that I feel like that kind of seem to have to do with literature. People You Meet on Vacation. I think there is a book aspect to that one too. I think that was the other one. So I'm definitely more inclined to read those. But like, I'm not, oh my god, I have to read those books. But I am intrigued by them, and I do have them on my Kindle as potential reads. But then but I think a better answer for this question would actually be the Bridgerton series. And Julia Quinn, I think, is the author. Because I love the show. The show was awesome. The show is so much fun, and I enjoy the characters and their storylines and their romantic stories and all that. And for a second, I actually felt tempted to read them. Because, you know, there's a display at My Books A Million. I'm sure at most Books A Million there is a display of the Bridgerton books. And I have thought about them because I love the series. But I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm wary to read. I was wary to read them because there are aspects of the book plots that that they changed and altered in the show. And I'm attached to the show, and a lot of times, if I get to the adaptation first, sometimes this is what happened with Lord of the Rings, but that has changed with Lord of the Rings. But That's because fantasy is my genre, my favorite genre anyway. But when it comes to romance, there's no guarantee. It's a 50-50 shot if I'm gonna love it or not. But there's a lot of aspects of that are in those plots that just made me a little reluctant to read them. So I'm just thinking which I'm sticking to the show. Okay. So I guess that's the closest to an answer you're gonna get, because I don't feel like I need to read them, but I have been tempted to read them. Okay, so you need to be in a specific mood to enjoy this. Okay, and I picked The Stand by Stephen King. I love Stephen King. And he's very easy to read. Most of his books are really long. But yeah, it's not that hard. Like, the writing style is great. It's very simple writing style. It's kind of like Brandon Sanderson's writing. This is about a end of the world situation, and this is the not an end of the world, but it's more of similar to, like, a lot of people didn't want to read it a couple years ago because of COVID-19, and this is about a virus that wipes up half the population, and the remaining people have to pick a side between this Mother Abigail and Randall Flagg. But yeah, I don't know if I would, but it's definitely one of those where I have to be in the right mood to read this story, because, like, Stephen King, he's easy reading, but he is kind of crass, and he does, like, the very things that people don't like about him are the things that, yes, I like them and enjoy them and I'm cool with them, but sometimes I'd be in the right mood for that kind of, be in that headspace of some of these characters. And it's another one of his longest books. I don't know if it or this one is longer, but yeah, I have to be in the mood for this kind of story. Okay, so next is You're on the Fence to continue the series. I don't know if I ever came up with an answer. Did I come up with an answer? I don't remember if I came up with an answer for this one. I don't think I did. I don't think I had an answer for this one. I mean, there are series that I've recently gone back and forth on waffle when I finally decided to let them go, like the Temeraire series. As fun and cute as they are, it's they're kind of repetitive, and, like, they, I mean, it's fun and the relationship is really sweet and everything between Temeraire and, I can't remember, I already forgot the guy's name. And it's kind of similar my problem with Temeraire is kind of similar with Bernard Cornwell's The Saxon series, where the books kind of seem repetitive, seem like it's the same, they're hitting the same plot beats. Yeah, the situations are a little different. Like, there's a different enemy for Uhtred to face. And I almost would rather watch the show of that one instead of reading the books. Which, back when I started reading the books, I was like I was cheering for the book. I was the book's cheerleader and hoping my dad would read them because he likes the show. But now I'm just like, it's kind of almost the same thing every time. Like, yeah, there's some of the details are different, but, like, who he's facing and some of the conflicts are different, but it just felt kind of repetitive. Like, those series like that where you can, like, I probably would not, well, I might like if I was more into reading romance, I might have liked those romance series where you can, which is kind of what Julian Quinn's The Bridgerton series is like. You have each book is about a different set of characters, but there are some ongoing plot stuff aspects in them, but you could read them as standalones almost. So yeah, so there are series that I've gone back and forth and been on the fence about, but I finally had decided, like, I don't have one right now that I feel that. I mean, the most recent one is probably The Vagrant Gods, which is not a series, it's a trilogy, where I read the first 2 books, but I hadn't got to the 3rd one yet, and it just came out. But I already put in the donation pile, so Okay, so then we have your, okay, now question number 10. It's been on your TBR for a long time. Lord of the Rings. I mean, in fact, this whole series. This has been on my TBR since middle school years. Because as soon as the movies came out, I was interested because it's fantasy. I love fantasy. I love the movies. And I kept going back and forth with the series and thinking, do I really need to read them, or I could just watch the movies? And I know a lot of people would probably say, yes, you should read the books. And everyone loves them. And I finally did decide when Terry and I, was kind of, you could say Terry kind of inspired it. Like, I mean, I had, the funny thing, and what I always found funny was that I had a friend back when the movies came out who was a big fan of this series, and my friend Christina, and I was kind of more leaning towards Harry Potter, and she was Lord of the Rings fan, and so at the time, I already knew a lot about, she told me a lot, and she's also a big fan of Orlando Bloom, who plays Legolas, so she was keeping up with his movies and stuff like that. And then years later, many, many years later, as an adult, I have a friend, Terry, who's also a big fan. Although she kind of leans more towards Legolas's daddy, Van Thorell from The Hobbit. But yeah, it's kind of funny. It's full circle, basically. And I just was like, when she was visiting the last time, I was, we were like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to splurge and buy this book. And I did. Although there were other copies of them that I was tempted to buy, but they were kind of pricey. So yeah, I keep talking about reading this. I've read The Hobbit like twice now. Like probably maybe even 3 times. Yeah, actually 3 times. Because The Hobbit is an easier book to read. So yeah. This has been since middle school. This has been on my TBR. So yeah, it's been here the longest. But I didn't always have this copy. I used to have the mass markets of 3 books. And then when I decided to give this series another chance, well, it's not a series, it's a trilogy, and even then it's not, fans will tell you it's not a trilogy, it's one big book. So yeah, but basically this is probably the one that's been on here the longest. Okay, so then we have, and I do want to read it. That's kind of, once again, that's one of my project ideas, was reading some of Tolkien's works. Not just that. Okay, so next we have, it's genre outside your comfort zone. Oh, crap. I left it all the way over there. Excuse me. I know this is unprofessional, but you guys know me. Okay. Okay, got it. I need to be better at organizing these. Okay, so out of my comfort zone, Swan's Way by Marcel Proust. And it's out of my comfort zone because stream of consciousness. This writing style is very intimidating, but I mean, I have to say I've done pretty good. I've read a good chunk. And I made sure to read it when it was quiet and just nothing distracting me, where I could concentrate on the words and what I was reading. But yeah, it's not the premise. Again, a premise that sounds really interesting and intriguing, but just how it's written is a little intimidating. And, I debated, about trying Proust, and I saw it at Givens, and I decided to buy it. And it's also in one of my favorite editions, which is the NYRB edition. I cannot remember what that stands for. I have looked it up before. But yeah, this is a young man remembering his childhood, and this guy, Swan, I think, is telling his story about his encounter with this beautiful woman and everything. But yeah, just again, it seems like such a cool plot, but it's just, very much a coming of age story, but the writing is just very confusing, and sometimes but yeah, I mean, I've done it before, so I will try again and continue with it. And then I went ahead and also grabbed, this is my other Thomas Pynchon book. I don't have Gravity's Rainbow, but I would like to try it. And, I mean, it's really frustrating because you hear people like Chris from Leaf by Leaf, and the way he talks about these books, he gets so excited, and I get caught up in, I guess it's kind of like the people who get caught up in the hype of a book. I mean, I guess it's basically the same thing. You hear about it and it gets you excited, and then you look at the book and realize, I don't know if I can read this. I don't know. But yeah, this is basically about the famous Mason and Dixon line, and I'm familiar with it, and it doesn't look, I mean, at least he uses, like, he doesn't, like, with William Gaddis's The Recognitions, he doesn't believe in, he's one of those authors who believes in not using, like, quotes and stuff, and not using as much punctuation. That just drives me crazy. That's the only problem with The Recognitions, is I feel like, but yeah, it just seems like such a cool thing to learn about the history of that, but done in a fictional way. So I'm just Thomas Pynchon is one of those authors that scares me. That I bought these books by him, but I'm just worried that I'm not going to be able to handle it. But I am determined to try, because they like, as I keep saying, I feel like they have something to offer as far as the premise goes. Okay, so then we have despite owning, you'll likely never read it. Again, I had trouble with this one because despite owning it, you'll likely never read it, because most of my books I intend to read, or at least in my head, and I don't want to. I feel like sometimes we don't want to admit that we spent the money on a book that we're never going to read, because then it's basically you're wasting your money, and I feel like that, I definitely don't want to do that. I don't want to waste my money. But yeah, but I do have an answer for this one, and that is The Republic and Other Works by Plato. It's philosophy, and I don't know if I'll ever read it, because I mean, I tried taking a philosophy class once, but I really struggled with that class, so I didn't last that long, and I ended up having to audit it. But it seems so interesting, a subject matter, philosophy, and how people think. And when people talk about it, I think I could sort of, like, if someone individually is talking to me about philosophy, then I feel like I could do it, but I'm just worried that this is going to be one of those books that I'm not going to be able to read. Or at least it's going to be confusing. Like, and I keep going back and forth trying to decide, do I get rid of it and donate it, or do I at least try it? And I feel like I should at least try it. I mean, yeah, there are some books that I do eventually, they're sitting there for so long, and I eventually, like, I'm probably not going to get to this. But there are a lot of books I would like to at least try to read. But yeah, I don't know. So, I don't want to say that this is a book that I'll never read, but this is the best answer I can come up with, because I personally feel like you shouldn't, I try not to buy books that I don't intend to read. Even when I'm going used book shopping, because I don't want to feel like I've wasted my money. So, but this was the best answer I could come up with, because I don't know if I want to say that I will, but I don't know. Okay. So, it's only out of obligation to a book club friend's recommendation. No, I can't say that. I mean, I guess in a way, oh wait, this is another series that could be applied to the question that's, where is it? There's a series question. Oh, question number 9. This could apply to question number 9, a series that I'm on the fence to continue, which is the Vampire Chronicles. And in a way, this was one that, because of Terry, that I was going to give it another chance. And also, I like Anne Rice. I enjoy her writing. And I've been going back and forth with, do I want to read the rest of the series, like the Vampire Lestat? And even she has said that later on in the series, it's not as good. So yeah, so I guess that's a good answer for this question. That's I mean, I feel, not obligation, but a friend recommendation. Which is the Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. And I have read the first book twice now. And that is Interview with a Vampire. Okay, so yeah. So I do have an answer for that one. Okay, so number 14, I definitely don't have an answer for this one. Negative reviews have made you less excited. And I honestly don't have an answer for this one. I mean, I guess maybe there's a chance that looking through my reviews, I could find it. There probably is at least one. But yeah, I don't have an answer for that one. That's number 14. Negative reviews have made me less excited. So I don't have a book for that one. Okay, so it hasn't come out yet. And I also don't have an answer for this one. Because I don't ever keep up with new releases. And, I mean, there are some that I'm probably excited about, but I made the mistake of buying them and then, if it's like a series. So yeah, I don't have one for that one, for a series, a book that's come out yet. Okay, so number 16 is Tag People. So I don't know if I'll tag people or not. Maybe I will. We'll see. But yeah, so that is the Reluctant TBR Tag. Feel free to do this tag if you want to, because like I said, I'm not sure if I'm gonna tag anyone or not. But it's kind of fun to, it's kind of like the intimidating TBR tag, or at least for me it was, because a lot of these books are kind of intimidating. And sometimes I think that's, it's intimidation is the reason why you're reluctant to read a book. So, if you guys like this video, please give a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification if you want to be notified about my latest videos, and I hope you are enjoying your reading. And please, and just so you know, like, this does really help my channel, and yes, I want my channel to grow. I would like my channel to grow at least a little bit, so please, consider doing that, consider, giving a thumbs up, and I hope you are enjoying your reading, and I would love for you to share if you do this tag, share the link to your answers, or if you want to answer one of the questions, I'll post the questions in the description box, and you can answer one of them if you don't want to actually do the tag. So I will talk to y'all later. Bye!